This episode is brought to you by Whitaker Garage Doors, your one-stop shop for all things garage doors, proudly based in Peekskill, New York. Your home is a direct reflection of your personal style, and let's face it, your garage doors are the first thing people see when they pull up your driveway. Whether you're looking for the timeless charm of a classic carriage house door or the clean, sleek look of a basic wood finish, Whitaker Garage Doors offers traditional options for every taste and budget. I can personally vouch for their incredible service. When I had my own garage doors done, I was blown away by their timeliness, professionalism, and overall respect for their clients. Jonathan, Cassara, and their entire team are top-notch, and they really go the extra mile to ensure you're happy with the final result. So if you're in the market for a new garage door or need some repairs, give them a call or find them on Instagram at Whitaker_doors. Don't forget to tell them you're a friend of Dave's over at the No Snooze podcast. Whitaker Doors. You won't regret it. Now, back to the epi. Adversity? Bring it. The struggle? I welcome it. Snooze on life? Never that. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 208. As always, I'm in the booth with an exciting three. We have Vincent WAVA DeGrezia, Claudio the Voice Valenzuela, and I am Dave the Body Regina. Vincent DeGrezia is an entrepreneur whose journey from the restaurant industry to beverage innovation is nothing short of inspiring. Vincent grew up immersed in hospitality, with his father and uncle owning and operating 4 restaurants. His family's restaurant ventures took him between New York and Florida, where he developed a love for surfing and music. After earning a finance degree from Baruch College and working briefly at Bear Stearns, he returned to the hospitality world, joining Tao Group and rising through the ranks at Beauty and Essex. His experience culminated in a role as Director of Operations, where he helped launch multiple properties for Moxie East Village. In 2020, while navigating the challenges of the post-COVID hospitality industry, he created WAVA, a lightly caffeinated sparkling water, by accident. After refining the product through market research and testing, he and his wife, Lexi, took the leap to launch the brand. Today, WAVA is in over 50 stores across New York City, marking the start of an exciting new chapter in the beverage industry. I'm extremely excited to have Vin on the podcast today. Welcome to the podcast, my brother.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Vin, I am so happy to have you here. I like to start really from the beginning, right, of how we actually first met. And it was ironic the way I met you because I was supposed to be at an event that you were were you sponsoring Michelle Barone's event?
Correct, yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I was supposed to be at that event. I heard that it was a great turnout. But long story short, a buddy of mine, good friend of mine, Michael Press, he was like, listen, I met this guy, Vincent. He was sponsoring the event. I really connected with him. I want to connect you guys. So that's kind of how we started off. You and I had a great conversation on the phone.
We did.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So very, very happy to have you here. You traveled some distance. Tell us about this trip this morning.
Yeah, 2 hours. Catskills, Tannersville, right outside of Hunter. It was about -10 when I left this morning at about 7:30. Got down here 9:30, just in the nick of time to get rocking and rolling.
Get rocking and rolling. All right, so I'm going to do something that I do. Full transparency, I've had WAVA water before. Yeah. I love WAVA water. I've been open about that as well, but
I'm
going to crack open a little, and let's get the sound effects here. Crack open a little.
There you go.
All right, you like that? So I'm sipping on lemon ice, all right? And really where I want to start is the concept, because I think it's one of the most, like, what's the word? When you told me the story originally, I was like, it's just genius.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but talk to me about that aha moment that you had to create WAVA water.
Totally. So I was working in the city. It was coming out of COVID. I was working for Chow Group Hospitality at the time. I was the director of operations of the Moxie East Village. We were reopening up all of our venues, drinking tons of iced coffees, black iced coffees. That was my go-to. I don't drink energy drinks. I don't drink sodas. I try to stay away from overly sugary drinks, somewhat health conscious. So one day I finished my iced coffee. I put it down. About 20 minutes later, I go back to the iced coffee. It's melted, still ice in it. Drank it because I was thirsty. And right then and there, for no reason whatsoever, I was like, wait a minute. I go over to the bar. I put some soda water into it. I squeeze a little lemon. And I'm like, a lightly caffeinated sparkling water. I'm like, it has to exist. It's so simple. I would crush these things all day. So from that point, I did some R&D on the space, looking for something like this. I didn't really find anything happening at the time. There's more happening now, kind of similar or a direct competitor, but not much. And that's how I came up with the idea. Lightly caffeinated sparkling water. Simple.
Genius.
As simple as it comes, man.
I love though, like, you know, because if you're a coffee drinker, especially an iced coffee drinker, you know that moment when your coffee is gone, the ice is melted a little bit, and then you're still thirsty, so you kind of just dive back in, right? And that's
You're drinking it.
But that's
You're
exactly
drinking it all day.
It's exactly what you did, and now you have a phenomenal product. And it's lightly caffeinated, which means that it's got what,
45 milligrams.
45 milligrams of caffeine. Talk to us about that.
So drinking the entire can would be like drinking a half a cup of coffee. So it's super light. Do you know what I mean? So anyone that's overly, sensitive to caffeine, it's fine. It's like drinking a tea. Do you know what I mean? No calories, no sugar substitutes. So it's very clean for more health conscious individuals.
Right.
Has a little bit of L-theanine in it, which is an amino acid that helps reduce your anxiety but increase your focus. And that's what's in the beverage, man. It's just simple. So you look at the back, you look at the ingredients, you know everything that's in there. Really simple.
I love it. I think it's a great a great lesson for individuals, because it's almost like everybody has these ideas, and I'm sure people have thought about, like what you've actually been able to implement. But I think that's the difference between like really elite high performers and just, regular individuals. We're walking around all day long. We have these great ideas, but you have to find a way to kind of execute, right? Yeah. How has your family's legacy, right? We mentioned 4 restaurants, I guess, that you were kind of around through your father and your uncle.
Yeah.
How has the family legacy in the restaurant industry shaped the way you view business and like personal fulfillment? Because I'm sure the hospitality industry kind of fulfills you a little bit. You've been around it your whole life, right?
It does, because, if you're in hospitality and you thrive in hospitality and you're good at hospitality, you're a people person, right? So you enjoy being around people, meeting new people, meeting people's expectations, exceeding people's expectations, making them happy, seeing them happy from a service that you're providing. So in that sense, it's shaped. So let's take a step back. So, working with my father for, a lot of my adult life, you learn entrepreneurship, right? You learn what that grind is, what it takes to run a business, to start a business, how to be a leader, right? So in those ways, shaped me as a young adult, even a child, working in restaurants, what it takes to get the job done, how hard it actually is to start a business, conceptualize a business, start a business, succeed in a business.
I love that. Surfing and music are basically just your interest, right?
Skiing too.
Skiing too?
Big skier.
Okay. Now I don't know about the surfing, but there is a musical element to WAVA water, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah.
And it's not just the sound of you opening that beautiful can, my brother.
No, I'm thirsty.
Right? Lock in.
So I'll give you the high level. So WAVA water is the first beverage and sound experience using a lightly caffeinated sparkling water and music to help increase our creativity and focus. Not only through the beverage, which I just explained, but also on the back of the can is WAVA Beats, the music element. So you scan this QR code with your phone, and it goes to multiple playlists of original music that we create to help you focus. every few months, we come out with a new album of music, all instrumental, of focus music. And we do different genres of music, different strokes for different folks to keep it interesting for people that like different styles of music.
I love it. And I actually tried it because I didn't know what you were talking about at first. So I remember like shaking the can thinking it was going to like sing to me. I started tapping on the can. I swear, I didn't know what it was at first. Right. And then like I remember clicking it and thinking like, okay, if I tap it, maybe it's going to make a beat. Something's going to happen. And then I remember like when you sent me the package, I remember looking and I scanned the QR code and I happen to be somebody that listens to jazz music in my office.
Cool.
Right. So like I was able to actually pull up the playlist and I think it's so genius, man, because now not only are you having a beverage though, but you're attaching a focal element to it that I don't think has this ever been done before.
No, it hasn't. And like, it's what makes us different, you know. It takes us out of just being a beverage brand and more of a lifestyle brand of increased productivity and creativity through beverages and through our music that we create. Makes us unique, makes us different.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I have a question for you that I was thinking about too. And for whatever reason, I was like, I have to ask him this question because I feel like you can answer this. And maybe you can't. But how do you balance calculated risks versus reckless ones? Because I feel like a lot of us, we have these ideas, right? And in your head, you must have been like, okay, I have a decent career here, but at some point, I'm going to take this risk and I'm going to leave my career to start completely from concept. Now, some might look at that as a wild risk. But for you, it must have been calculated, right? So what was the thought process going through that?
It's a great question. It's a great question. Calculated in a way of what you want for your life. Not calculated on a way on paper. Does this make sense? Right? Okay. So when I came up with the idea, I've been searching for a long time for something to something that I believed in that I could do for myself, right? Nothing ever came to pass. So when WAVA water came to my mind out of nowhere and I dove into it and I built this business plan and I built this ideology, there wasn't really a question, man. It wasn't like, should I do this or should I not do this? There wasn't a question. I just knew I was doing it and I was willing to do whatever it took to get it done. So, you know, when I brought it to my wife, who was my fiance at the time, I pitched her the idea. She has the marketing background. She worked for LPQ, Le Pont Côte d'Ion, for a number of years on the global marketing team. I knew she had the marketing background. I had the ops. I knew as a team we could do it. I pitched it to her. I'm like, we need to do, I want to do this. Will you do it with me? She's like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm like, great. But the caveat is that there's no way we're giving this a real shot if I'm working 12 to 15 hours a day as a director of ops for a Tao Group property. You know, it's a big job that I had. There's no way we would have been able to put in the time. So that was a massive risk that I had to take at that moment. But in my mind, there was no choice. That's how bad I wanted it. The risk was greater, you know, the reward is greater than the risk for me at that point. So for that, to get the job, to get it going, their calculation on paper wasn't even a thought. It was, what do I want for my life? This is what I want for my life. I want to take this chance. And I have a very close friend who's a mentor of mine. And I went to him and I said, I have this idea. I really want to do it. Give me your advice. And he goes, listen, I don't know anything about the space that you're looking to embark on, but I'll tell you this. At the end of your day, you never want to look back in your life and say, what if? It's all I needed to hear. It's all I needed to hear. I was like, you're absolutely right. I was like, I don't want to go back and say, what if? Even if I crash and burn, which that's not going to happen. I truly believe that.
Why?
But even if so, because I believe in myself and I believe in my product, right? There's no failure. There's only pivoting. You just learn, you learn, you pivot, you learn, you pivot, you learn, your pivot. I don't believe failure as a word, you know what I mean? Just a learning experience to do something different, to move or pivot and shake or do it differently, right? So
I love it. I think that everybody needs to think about, that question because it's so important. It's not about it making sense on a calculator, right? Because a lot of these risks are not going to make sense
on a calculator.
Just doesn't
man.
make sense. But in terms of overall happiness, fulfillment, purpose, passion, that's where we need to begin to shift the focal points, right? And even for me, that's something that I'm going through with my entrepreneurial journey. But like I have a lot of expenses in my life, like a lot of people do. And I also love my full-time job. Don't get me wrong. It's a government job, great job. It's consistent, great benefits, pension, all of that. And I'm passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
But my entrepreneurial journey sparks a creative passion, fulfillment on a much deeper level. So, I struggle with the same types of things, but what would you say to somebody that struggles with kind of what I'm going through in a sense of like, I need the financial stability for my child, all of the expenses in my life and that type of stuff?
Yeah. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not in that position yet. I don't have children yet. I was able to take a leap because I didn't have those responsibilities. I don't have those responsibilities yet. But what I would say to someone like you, I mean, you're doing it, man. You know what I mean? Like, look what you're doing. You still have that job. You still have that security. You're making this rock and roll on your spare time. Every extra time that you have, you're making it happen. You know what I mean? I guess what you just have to do is any extra time that you do have that you can take away from your family and your job, you're working on your passion. Right?
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I think it's working.
Yeah.
But also in my, leadership stuff with Sean Degnan, as you know.
Love that guy.
Action cultivates excellence.
Yep.
We have these conversations all the time because we do firmly believe if we went all in, like we would be extremely successful for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like life obligations. Like, my daughter's daycare needs to be paid
I get that.
regardless
I get that,
of
man, of
my
course.
dreams, but it's always interesting to pick individuals' brains who have taken that leap. When you face adversity, what's the first thing you do to regain your perspective and make the decision to move forward?
Yeah. I take a step back, man. I breathe. You know what I mean? Don't make decisions rashly or fast at all, especially when coming to a decision, I don't know exactly what to make or how to deal with it at that specific moment. I do like to listen to, your inner self, your innate thoughts and feelings, and not just off of gut emotion. And that's really how, I deal with adversity. I just breathe. I take a step back. I go helicopter because all day, and I'm sure you're like this the same way, you're so micro, you're so in it, you lose perspective of not the big picture, but where you are and how much you've grown, So when you take that helicopter and you go big, okay, I started here, look where I am now. Oh, I have made a lot of progress, but sometimes you forget that, how much progress you've actually made, and you got to go helicopter and you got to breathe.
I love that. Can you be a little bit more specific, maybe of a, I guess talk to me about the lowest point thus far in the entrepreneurial journey and how'd you find the strength to keep going? And I love that answer about, because I said how to move forward. And the first thing you said was, I got to take a step back.
Got it.
I love that because me, I'm like, I got to go. I got to try to figure this out.
Yeah.
But is there a moment, I'm sure there's probably 50 of them for you that you can think about?
Definitely. But one comes to mind right away. So when we started WAVA Water, and remember I told you, with the coffee, right? So when we started WAVA Water, it was coffee flavored. We used real cold brew in with sparkling water and lemon and orange and different flavors, right? And it was great. It was delicious. To me anyways.
To a coffee drinker.
To me anyways. And then we did our first test commercial run. We made like 2,000 cans, right? We're so proud of it. We're like, yeah, we made these cans. Great. Awesome. Success.
Right.
Let's test it. Let's get out there. Let's start doing demos. Brooklyn, Hudson Valley, summertime streets, having people taste it, asking them to take surveys, giving them, free WAVA reusable gold straws for doing us the favor, sending out gift packages to every single friend and family that we have in the world to get people's feedback. And we sent it out. We did our demos, and it didn't go the way we hoped it would go. So we got some good feedback, but we also got a lot of negative feedback, on numerous fronts, on flavor profile, on why we think this would be just so many things. You know what I mean? And it's a hard pill. It's a hard pill to swallow when you've given up so much and you've put so much into something, and then you get a lot of negative feedback on it. And this is probably 1.5 years into product development, that we've just been testing for months and months and months and months, and looking through the data. And I'm looking at Lexi, and I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, did I screw up? Did I make the wrong decision? And then I had to take a step back. I had to breathe. I had to really think about it. I'm like, this is just a bump in the road, right? Okay, where did we miss the mark? And how do we need to change it to make it better, right? So that's what I did. I really had to go back to the drawing board, literally back to the drawing board, see not that I did wrong, what doesn't work, right? What was my main purpose for building WAVA Water? The main purpose was to create a very simple, lightly caffeinated sparkling water that is delicious for people that are looking, like me, that is looking for something like this, that don't drink energy drinks, that don't drink sodas, right? I'm like, we need to simplify this. And I literally went back to the drawing board and we simplified it. I'm like, classic flavoring. Why do we have to make it difficult? Why do we have to make it so niche? Classic flavoring, lemon ice, orange vanilla. These are classic flavors that people will always love. Let's just make it real. Let's make it delicious, and it'll be powerful. And that was number one big learning lesson, is just having to swallow that pill, being able to deal with that, that adversity and pivot, right?
Right.
Pivot.
But also the feedback piece, man. This is huge. And for whatever reason, my brain, right? I want to challenge people to think about their own lives, because we're hearing a story of an entrepreneur, which is a phenomenal story, but I think this is more of a life lesson for individuals in the personal, professional development space.
Yeah.
If they're listening to this podcast, they want growth, right? No snooze is about not snoozing on your life, waking up, attacking everything that you do.
Right.
But what you just said is extremely important. I think a lot of people struggle with it. You, in a sense, were looking in the mirror and you were like, oh, wow, like this product is awesome. It tastes great. I love the coffee flavor with the lemon, blah, blah, blah. But then you put it out there and you receive different feedback. Now, I think about that because you can think whatever you want to think about yourself.
Sure.
But when people give you constructive criticism and feedback,
Yes.
you have two options. To remain stubborn or begin to change your ways.
Yeah.
And it's hitting me deeply right now because, I'm thinking of my own life. I used to be very fiery. And not that I'm not fiery now, but from a business standpoint, I remember, on a political level, I received an email that I did not like. And I immediately fired back in a way that was defensive.
Sure.
And challenging.
Yep.
And clearly I was bothered by it. Click send. All of the dignitaries are on it. My commissioner comes in, my direct boss. He says, listen, I'm going to go to lunch. And I want to sit down and have a conversation with you after.
Wow.
And I was like, swallow that pill. And it was a great move because my boy had me sweating because now I have to wait. I clearly know what this is about.
Yeah.
But it was great because he didn't want to catch me in the moment. He told me this after. He said, I didn't want to catch you in that exact moment. I wanted to give you a chance to breathe, but also give you a heads up that we need to have a conversation on this. And when he came back from lunch, he gave me about 2 hours to kind of think about it. And then we sat down and we processed. And he said, yo, man, you're not necessarily wrong in a sense, but that email was horrible.
Right.
The approach that you took is not the way. Yeah. It's not the way to make change. And sure enough, the responses that I got were awful responses. It was just I'm fighting you, now you're fighting me. I'm fighting you, now you're fighting me.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been there. And I also had to change because, I'm listening to somebody who's instrumental in my life, who's looking out for the betterment of myself. And I had to swallow that and make the change. And I think a lot of people, though, they remain just too stubborn, and they know the choice that they need to make and the changes that they need to make, but sometimes they don't end up doing it. Right. And you were actually able to do that from a business standpoint. But I challenge everybody, like I started this conversation with, to think about the things that you're being stubborn with in your own life. And if you're receiving feedback on things that you can do a little bit better, not that you have to flip the switch immediately, but start to take the feedback as a positive thing and begin to implement the change.
Yeah, I mean, everything you got to take with a grain of salt. You know
Of
what
course,
I mean?
right.
And the biggest thing, and I like emotional intelligence, looking at all perspectives, not just your perspective. Why does that, why is that happening from that side? Where is that energy coming from towards me? Why is that coming towards me? How am I accepting that energy? How am I going to give it back? Am I going to give it back?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Caffeine Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Caffeine Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Caffeine Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at caffeinevisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Caffeine Visions. Caffeine Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the epi. Ideas, all right? And I think, again, it was something that came to mind just when I think about you is people have these ideas, these great concepts.
Yeah.
How did you differentiate between following a passion and just what I'm going to call a fleeting idea, right? Because, again, I think these ideas do pop up in individuals' minds, but how were you able to attach the idea to an actual passion versus just being like, oh, this is a great idea? I'll give you an example here. I remember talking to my father years ago and him coming out of the shower, and he would always put his towel on, but he would always get pissed off because he would go to grab things and then the towel would start to fall, just like all of us, right? Maybe his belly was a little too big at the time, whatever. Yeah. So he used to say to me, like, you know what would be a genius invention is if I just created a clip that can go onto my towel, right? And he would always say it, but clearly he just wasn't passionate about it.
That's it, man.
Right?
It all comes, totally. It all comes down to passion, right? It really does. Why I decided WAVA water was the one idea for me to put everything into, I have no idea. I could not tell you. It was just an innate feeling. Like I said, like at the beginning.
A deep feeling.
It was just an innate feeling. There was no not doing it. And because of that, that's how I knew it was the right, I had to do it. No matter what the outcome,
right.
I had to do it, And then what was really cool about it is as we were developing the beverage side, the music came after. It came, again, out of nowhere that we were working through the design, right? The waves. We were working through the design with our designers. And I'm looking at the design one day and, again, out of nowhere, just popped in my brain. It looked like brainwaves. I'm like, brainwaves. Interesting. Dove into a deep rabbit hole, did some R&D on brainwaves, and then where I landed there was sound frequencies, something called binaural beats, which at its simplest term are sound frequencies that can activate brainwaves, and there's science behind it. And then I did research on these binaural beats and sound frequencies accompanied by music. And then I did a deep dive into that. And I'm like, okay, this is really cool. This is something I could really sink my teeth into. And then I listened to all these different playlists on Spotify of, focus music, binaural beats music. Everything sounded the same, same type of background music. I'm like, what if we do it different? What if we, because I'm a musician, I have nothing but an endless plethora of musician friends and
You play guitar.
I do.
Yeah. I only said that because you look like if you were an instrument, you would be a guitar.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I remember that.
What would I be?
Yeah.
A drum.
You'd be the bass.
A bass? Okay, all right. I can do that.
Yeah. Where was I? So I was like, we could do it a little different. We could make it better, right? We could create different genres of music, all instrumental, R&B, soul, ambient house, lo-fi, pop, classic rock, guitar, We could make all instrumental music in different genres with these sound frequencies embedded into it. And in every album, there is an intro track that educates you a little bit on binaural beats, the sound frequencies, and which track to listen to get you into different desired mind states.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. And I'm like, we could, we're now a lifestyle brand and not just a beverage brand of increased mind function, whether it be focus, inspiration, clarity, creativity.
Do you know any of the science behind and maybe the answer is no. Is there like a specific science behind the music that you've put into your playlist to ignite creativity at all?
Yeah. So we use something called binaural beats, which again, the simplest term to explain it without getting too deep is sound frequencies that activate brainwaves.
That
right?
activate brainwaves. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So you wanted to say creativity. So what science says and has shown is that an alpha brainwave, which is a certain frequency in our mind, when we are in a state of that alpha frequency, we are our most creative. It's also what they say your flow state. When you're in flow state is when your alpha frequency is the most prominent. So we create the binaural beat to activate the alpha brain frequency that can help create creativity. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, on that word passion, do you think passion is something that, and this is personal, right? I don't think there's any right or wrong here. Do you think passion is something that can be cultivated, or is it something that you either like have or don't have?
I think everyone has passion, man. You just got to find what you're passionate about, right? We're all human beings. Everyone's creative in their own sense. It's just, what's that saying? And I forget who said it, and I apologize. But if you're trying to teach a fish to climb up a tree, he'll never accomplish anything, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you need to find, not every individual can fit in someone else's ideology or box. You have to fit in your box. What's your passion? What you feel. So I feel everyone has a passion. You just need to find it. I think everyone's born with a passion,
Right.
I guess, because everyone's creative in their own sense.
Yeah, I asked the question because I had a conversation with an adult who told me that he liked to dance, right?
Cool.
I said, cool. What kind of dance do you do? He said, oh, I don't have time to dance. I don't dance at all. I just like it.
He just likes it.
So I'm like, you have a potential passion here.
Totally.
That because your life, you have 3 kids, or 4 kids he had, 4 kids, you have 2 jobs, you're doing all of the life stuff, but you're essentially putting off something that could be your passion. And I think as adults get older, we have things that we like to do that we just tend not to do because we put other things in front of what could potentially become our passion, right? And I don't know if that's a passion could start as an interest, right? You have to definitely be interested in something to dive in. But for this individual, it's like, who knows where this dance journey could have been. He's like, yeah, I love dancing. I did it up until I was 25 years old, and then I haven't danced in 15 years. And I'm like, sounds like a miss.
Yeah, why would you stop dancing? What the hell are you doing, man?
Right? And again, it was more on like, he still listens to music and just dances on his free time,
Sure.
but he's a ballroom dancer. So
he used to professionally dance.
That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of strange because that to me I'm like, dude, you were good at this, obviously, because you were doing this ballroom style, salsa, all these different styles of dance, and then you just kind of stopped. And that, to me, I'm correlating back to here because, like, who knows where that journey could have taken
I get
them,
that, man.
right?
I do. It's like I played in a lot of rock bands, Used to love playing out live. Absolutely loved playing out live, putting on a show. Now I don't really do it anymore. Well, actually, I don't do it anymore. Time, you know what I mean? I don't have time to get together with a band, write songs, rehearse, book shows. You know what I mean? Life happens. Unless you're lucky enough that passion, it becomes a career for you. But, it didn't for me. But I kind of get that,
What does the daily routine look like to stay on top of, I guess, your business and your personal life, right? Like you're your own boss, or maybe, well, your wife's your boss, let's be honest. But, what do the routines look like for an entrepreneur, like building out a business like this?
It's a great question. I wake up when the sun gets up, I get up innately. Sun gets up, I get up, and I kind of start my day. I try, unless I have crazy early meetings, gym first, work out, take time for myself, and then start the day. Try to get to bed early also, try to get to bed if I can. Like last night, I was able to. I was in PJs at 7:30, man.
That's the best, right?
It's the best.
The best. No, yeah.
PJs at 7:30.
I really, one of my goals this year that I had mentioned is to really prioritize sleep and recovery.
Yeah.
And the way that I do that literally is, have you ever heard of Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm just getting onto the show.
I mean, I can't say I know it
20,
well or
20
watched
plus
it.
years old, but
Yeah.
I'm into it now.
Yeah.
And I get into my silk pajamas that my girlfriend got me for Christmas. They're red. And I do that around like 8 p.m. and I start like unwinding and like I'm kind of knocked out by 9:30 the latest.
Dude, it's great.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Majority of the time I try to make it happen. Like sometimes I'm out later.
Yep.
Like if I'm in New York City, I tend to be out a little later. But when I'm upstate, man, 7:30, I'm ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're in 50 stores, 50 locations, right? Over 50.
Around, yeah.
You told me about the strategy that you implemented with your wife when you guys were just testing the waters. You kind of sent packages to everybody that you kind of knew to get the feedback. How did you scale this thing, right? Like, what was the strategy that was in place? And you are very active with events and all that stuff. I see that on social media.
Yes.
After you and I had a conversation, I invited you to an event. You brought a whole bunch of
Totally.
waters. It
Love
was
it.
awesome.
Love it.
Talk to us about the work that goes into that and then how you kind of like were able to scale WAVA Water.
Yeah. I can't say it's easy. I happen to have some really great advisors. And so our go-to-market strategy was the lowest hanging fruit, which was hospitality, luxury hospitality, right? I come from that world. I have a lot of connections. I have a great network. So we started moving into bars, hotels, hotel lobbies, grab and goes, trying to get into some gyms. We didn't even touch retail for the first 5 months. And that was our go-to-market because that was all personal network. So it was a lot of going to these places, phone calls, hey, try out our beverage. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. We think it would be great.
I want to cut you off there because I'm curious about this. So you have this product and you pitch, let's just say, the Hyatt Hotel, right? Are they responsible to buy the product up front, or do you just place it in the lobby and you say, hey, whatever sells, then they take a percentage? How does that work?
I mean, it could work numerous ways. It could be on consignment. It could be, net 30 here, pay me in 30 days. It depends how you want to work the deal. Some places I'm on consignment. Some places it's net 30. Some places like to pay me right away. And I'm open to it all. I just want you to try our product and give it a chance, and then we go in and we love to do demos. We love to do events. We love to talk to people. We love to get people's feedback. But back to your initial question, it was really luxury hospitality, hotels, bars, and also this is a great NA beverage if you don't drink at a bar. It tastes good. It gives you a boost. It's a sexy can. You know what I mean? It makes you feel included if you're at a bar. We do well in bars as a single serving can, not in a cocktail. We do well. So that was our start.
Right.
That's how we started moving and shaking, was hospitality.
Door to door.
People we knew,
And then
all personal
Gotcha.
network, not cold calling really.
Yep. Right.
Personal network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your background and your wife's background is a good space to tie those reps that you've had in over the years into what it is that you're doing.
And then we rarely, I don't even think we ever have, say no to an event, as long as it doesn't cost us too much money, because we don't have too much money.
Yeah.
Because you never know who you're going to meet.
Mm-hmm.
You never know who you're going to meet at any event. Everyone's like, hey, will you do this wellness event? 25 people. Let's go.
Yep.
Done. I'll be there. 2-hour drive, no problem. Let's go. Like we're doing one in the Catskills, on Saturday, a wellness event. Awesome. Let's do it. We'll do a bunch in the city next week. I have a demo team now. We're doing demos all over our retail.
Yep.
Our retail stores.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a bunch of stuff for Fashion Week. Yeah.
It's genius. Do you drink?
I do.
You do.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm asking is because I've actually I stopped drinking in 2024.
Awesome.
Started off as like 30 days, and then
You're
just
rocking
kind of continue.
No, it's great.
So this has been something that's been great. I mean, this is a go-to for me. Pellegrino's a go-to for me.
I love Pellegrino.
You know what I mean?
I'm a big Pellegrino.
But the flavor profile I love on the lemon ice and the orange. What does, I guess, success look like for you when it comes down to WAVA water? What's your big time vision with it?
I try not to think too big at the, initially. I have my end goals. I want this to be a national brand. I want it to be a music driven brand, being a part of the music industry with the music. I have some ideas. I don't want to talk about, we'll talk about this in a year from now when we're sitting right here again. And I have some big ideas for that, as well as being a national beverage brand, also being part of the music industry as well with the music. But every day it's, little goals, man, little goals. Can we get into another store? Not only can we get into another store, can we drive discovery at these stores, that it's selling at these stores, that we're getting reorders at these stores? Because anyone will try you twice, will try you once, you know what I mean? But it's all about, number one, getting in there, doing the demos, showing the support, trying to drive discovery. You get one person that likes your product and they're buying it every week.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's all about getting those reorders, making sure you're selling out. It's a lot, and especially when you want to grow.
Right. Going to shift you because it's just what I do.
Shift it.
Talk to me about your relationship with your wife a little bit, right? And how is it hard to have a wife that you're now working with? Right?
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, like my girlfriend and I are great, but like, look forward to, when she's at work, and I'm sure she looks forward to when I'm at work, and then we come back together for dinner, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But spending a lot of time together, obviously, is something that you guys do.
Yeah.
Right? Talk to me about that.
It's very hard. We've figured it out, but it's been for the over 4 years. It's challenging because, I have my way of doing things. She has her way of doing things. You have to see each other's way of doing things and be respectful to that. And then having a personal relationship on top of that, and then going through the hard times, big hills and valleys, big hills and valleys of the business, right? And then you have to go through that together. We don't work in the same office together. I have an office one place. She has an office in another place. Right. But we're a block away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's great.
Wait, an actual block?
Literally a block away in Williamsburg.
Wow.
Yeah. Across the street, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we work in different offices.
But not the same building.
Not the same building.
That's
We
so
work in
funny.
different offices. It's great because if we have to work on something together, I'll go over and work with her at her office.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can't say it hasn't been trying. It's very trying, the relationship. But we've gotten to a point that we've had enough fights that we're like, we figured it out. You know what I mean? She understands what I need. I understand what she needs from our relationship, from business partners. And we show up for each other in that respect. But it definitely hasn't been easy. I can't say it's for everybody, for sure. But we've come to a good spot now. We've come to a good spot that we understand what we need.
Where do you, and this is strictly to you, right? So Lexi, turn up the volume on this. Where do you know that you can get better in the relationship?
I could definitely listen more. Yeah, I could definitely listen more and be there for her more by listening to her more and, you know, from her needs, what she needs, and I could be there for her more.
Yeah.
I could listen more. I have to listen more.
Yeah.
I have to listen more.
That's a huge struggle, I think, for men in general.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's very relatable to me. You know, I actually was on the reverse of this where, you know, my girlfriend and I were going back and forth and I was like complaining about a certain circumstance. And she started giving me the advice, right? Which is typically like what I do is like she complains and boom, it's solution. Or a coworker complains, boom, solution based. And I literally had to say, like, I don't want your advice. I really just want you to hear me, like, just bitch and moan because, you know, I do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and sometimes I just need to, like, complain. And I think a lot of relationships do need that balance of, you know, a time and a place to where you know when it's time to provide a, you know, solution-based conversation or it's time, like, to just kind of listen. So when I've been talking to individuals in the relationship space, they say a good thing to do is literally ask the question. Be transparent. Are you looking for me to help you find a solution, or do you just want me to listen?
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's very hard, especially as a very stubborn Italian man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Dude, I know, but I've realized it. I mean, I just have to listen and not react. Just listen.
Yep.
And, you know, and be like, yeah, you're right. How can we fix it? You know, what do you want to do about it? You know what about? You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I've come to think, and I think about this a lot now, the calmer you are,
right,
the clearer you think. I try to move with strategy and not emotion because when emotions are high, intelligence is extremely low.
Right.
Do you have any tips or strategies that you use to stay calm when that's not the initial reaction? And I'm asking you this because you seem like a calm individual.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can flip the switch and turn up, but you know, like somebody like me, I'm drinking this caffeine and I'm up, baby.
Yeah.
I'm up.
You ready to go?
Yeah, you have the ability to kind of remain calm.
It's my nature. It is my nature to be calm and step back. But outside of just being my nature, I've also cultivated that by working, you know, literally in the hospitality industry, man. You know what I mean? Dealing with so many personalities and having to keep your cool through the personalities, even if they're wrong, and listen and take a step back and look at multiple perspectives and not just yours. So that has also taught me, outside of my innate ability, to stay calm, right? So the question was, what was the question?
Like just tips or strategies that somebody can implement to stay calm.
Oh, yeah,
even when the initial reaction is not to stay calm.
I think it depends on the situation, but if you have the ability to, and it's just verbal, to take a step back, breathe, think about the situation, think about what caused the situation. Maybe that guy's having a bad day. Maybe that woman's having a bad day. I'll give you an example because it just happened to me, man.
There we go.
So last week I was doing site visits, visiting all the stores, seeing how they're doing, seeing if we're sold out, seeing if we need to put in orders. Had a visit. I think I visited like 30 stores. Took me literally 8 hours driving door to door in New York City. My last store, of course it's your last store, I go to check on, you know, the product. Product was selling not really well, not okay, selling okay. Time of year, need to be doing more demos. Granted, we're not on a consignment deal. We're on a net 30 with the store, which in 30 days, you give me a check. I'll come in, I'll do demos, I'll push the product. I go in to ask for a check, and the owner goes off on me. He's like, how could you ask me for a check? The product's not really moving. I'm like, no problem. But it wasn't what he said, it's how he said it, right? He spoke to me in a very demeaning way. I could have reacted. I didn't. I took a step back. I went helicopter. I was thinking to myself, maybe this guy's having a very bad day. I just happened to catch him at the wrong time. I said, no worries, brother. I'm so sorry. All is good. All is good. We're coming in next week. We're going to do some demos, right? Walked out. But I was flustered. You know what I mean? Someone's talking to me in a certain way that was not deserved. I'm not okay with it. You know what I mean? I go in there, I call my wife, I call Lexi, I explain to her the situation. I'm like, I know this is my ego right now. I want to go in there and pull my product. It's my ego. I know it is. I know it's my ego. My ego's hurt. I don't want to feed my ego, you know? I don't want to react. She's like, you'll regret it. Maybe he's having a bad day. I'm like, you're right. She's like, let it go. Just keep going on with your business. I'm like, you're right. I move on, I drive away. It's still eating me up inside. So I was spoken to a certain way that wasn't deserved. And it bothered me. I wanted to say something, but I knew I shouldn't. So then I had to call another friend to talk me down. Called another friend. I'm like, I know it's my ego, man. Please, you know, give me your advice. He's like, it's your ego, man. He's like, it's not becoming of you. It's not who you are. You would never do that. Let it go. You might be having a bad day, right? And for me, that's a big deal because nothing really bothers me in that way, but I was spoken to in a certain way. So I had to call two friends to get some advice, my wife and my buddy. And that's how I dealt with it. I reached out. I asked for help and not just dealt with it internally. That's another big thing. Yeah. I know you believe this. As human beings, we need to ask for help when we feel a certain way, man. We should never have to do things alone. If we have people that we could lean on, you call them and you ask them, hey, I'm feeling this way. What's your advice? This is how I feel. What do you think about it? You know what I mean? Ask for help.
I love that answer. Finding the perfect home is more than just a transaction. It's about finding a place where your family can grow, feel comfortable, and thrive. That's why you need someone who truly cares about your needs and is there to support you every step of the way. Meet Janeska, a dedicated real estate professional with 9 years of experience serving families across the Hudson Valley, covering the Bronx, Westchester, Rockland, and Orange County. As a wife of a first responder and a mother of 3, Janeska knows how important it is to find a home that feels right, not just for you, but for your family. Her background as a former educator gives her a unique ability to listen, understand, and guide you with the patience and care, whether you're looking to buy your first home, looking to upgrade, or ready to sell. With her extensive knowledge of the local market and her genuine commitment to helping families navigate the process with ease, Janeska is here to offer you the support, expertise, and reassurance you deserve. Mention Dave from the No Snooze podcast and call Janeska today at 845-694-9067 or email her at jpaulino@kw.com to start your journey home. So success, I think, is extremely personal, right? Like nobody is going to do the work for you. It's just a fact.
No.
Nobody's going to suffer the consequences of your inaction to do something. How do you fight that little voice in your head, if it comes up or not, that may tell you, hey, man, this isn't going to work. Like a big time company is going to come in and, compete with you and put you out of business. There's tons of seltzers out there, all of those things. How do you deal with that? Or is that not even like a thought?
I mean, you always hear that, man. It's always a thought, but like, how did we start this conversation? We said, did it make sense on paper? You know what I mean? No, if you start it, it doesn't make sense on paper, but you got to believe in yourself. You're always going to get negative interaction. People that say, what are you doing? It's not worth whatever it is. You know what I mean? You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your product, and you got to keep on pushing, man. You got to keep on pushing.
I like it. What would you say the biggest lesson that you've learned in the hospitality industry, or I guess talk to me about a couple of the big lessons that you've learned in the hospitality industry that have now trickled over and helped you in your entrepreneurial journey, right? Because they're two completely different spaces. But what would you say the big lessons are there?
That trickled down. Definitely learning about people, right? So working in hospitality, like I said before, you literally meet every type of personality you could ever meet out there, especially when I was working for Tao Group. We were dealing with 1,000 covers a night. You know, imagine the amount of people that are walking through these restaurants and that you're dealing with, especially, you know, at the beginning, I was doing the door. I was a maitre d'. I was firsthand talking to every single person, every type of personality, every type of situation, negative or positive, and dealing with those situations. So you like, and what I've been talking about the whole time with you is looking at all perspectives of every situation and how to pivot and, you know, how to be humble in those situations and listen. And it's not always about us. It's not always about us. And that trickles down to entrepreneurship. That trickles down to your life as a human being, right?
Mm-hmm. What's been the most rewarding part of the journey so far? And I know it's obviously still going. You started the concept in 2020?
Concept 2020 got to market about 8 months ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So was it like, you know, and this is just me just thinking, was it the first like big event you did? Was it the first contract being signed to actually be in a store? What was the most rewarding piece of this journey so far?
I mean, every time that I'm in person doing events or doing demos, interacting with people, talking with people about the product, and the interaction is rewarding as hell. And they're like, this is great. I'm going to go buy 3 right now.
Somebody's sitting there, right? Like I remember even at the ACE workout, a lot of people, I mean, you know, we just worked out and we were testing it. And I remember thinking to myself, damn, this got to feel good because a lot of people were drinking it and they were like, oh, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
So that you would say that's
the most rewarding. The human aspect,
rewarding.
man. You know, the human aspect. It's not about getting into stores for me at this point. Maybe it will, but I think it's really always going to be the human aspect, right? Of service in some form of service.
Mm-hmm. Do you get burnt out at all? Yeah. And how do you handle your burnout? And I guess, are there any strategies that you could talk us through to become refreshed again after a burnout? Yeah.
I was saying this to my wife right before the holidays. I was feeling it. You know what I mean? I was just putting too much pressure. Got to be done now. Got to do it. Got to be done now. Got to do it. And I felt myself burning out. And then the holidays came. And during those 2 weeks of the holidays, everything kind of shuts down and quiets, especially for this, you know, not at the restaurants. You know, my father has a restaurant up in Saugerties. Everything's super busy. And I took a little bit of time and skied a lot, relaxed in the country. The biggest thing when you're approaching burnout is you have, and I'm sure you know this, man, you have got to take time for yourself, and not just like a day. Like you gotta disconnect for a second, man. You gotta disconnect and take care of yourself. Do things you love for a little bit, and then come back. I have a very close buddy who I work with a lot, and he's like, from one entrepreneur to another, I will tell you without question, I do not answer an email. I do not pick up a phone before 10 a.m. He goes, from 7 to 10, I am working out, I am reading, I am taking my time. Nothing else happens. 10 a.m., let's go. It's important.
Yeah.
I find an issue with that sometimes because I wake up and it's go time. And that's a fault of mine.
Right.
100%. Right. That's where burnout happens. You know what I mean? It's go time. I get up, emails, boom, work, do, go.
Yep. I don't know why this is randomly popping in my head because it's not anywhere on my notes. But you seem to be somebody who thinks a lot, right? Like you said, you just like to relax and kind of chill in the country, and that's a time to think. What are the things that you're most grateful for in your life?
Yeah. Without question, family and friends, man. Always family and friends. As we get older, I'm sure all of you like can understand this. Your circle of friends becomes so much smaller, right? And the people that are still with you at this point, that you've known for decades, they're with you for the rest of your life. And you got to cultivate and embrace those relationships and take time for those relationships. Very, very appreciative for every relationship. Family, super important. Got to take time with them, you know, because at the end when things are, and it happens, you know, big hills, big valleys, your family's there for you. You could rely on them.
I would agree with you for sure. I have a little prayer with my daughter, and she's 4. She says the first 2 things is, "Dear God, thank you for my family, thank you for my friends."
Yeah.
And then obviously health, I think, is literally the most important thing in the world,
No,
because without
is.
it, you
There's
don't have
nothing.
you don't have anything.
That's a great one, dude. That's a great
And a
one.
lot of people just don't. Everybody says it, and you know it, but it's like, do you really know it? Because now you're 35 years old and you're extremely unhealthy. Now
Sure.
you're 40. Now you're
Yeah.
45. Now you're 50.
Yep.
And what worked when you were 25 no longer works, and you're still burning yourself out,
Dude.
right? And
Big time.
I think this year, a lot of people just need to double down on their health. And
Yeah.
I've been having conversations just off of my own. I have battled Crohn's disease since I was 16 years old, but I'm doing more lab work than I've ever done before, like getting my blood done and kind of seeing the what's working in my body, what's not working in my body,
Right.
and really making the changes, because for a minute, I don't know if I would have been able to sustain the pace that I was going, because I do move at a fast pace, and there's a lot of things that I have my hands in and I'm involved in, and I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Sure.
But without the health, I mean, the family and friends are great, but you don't want your family and friends coming to visit you in a hospital.
No, they don't. You didn't, for sure. And as I'm 46. As I've gotten
You look
older,
great. You look
thank
like,
bro.
you know who you remind me of?
Who?
The most interesting man in the
I'll
world.
take it every day.
Has
I'll
anyone
take
told
it.
you that?
But every now and again.
A little bit of George Clooney.
Okay. Keep it
You're
coming,
a
bro.
stud.
Keep it
You're
coming, bro.
Italian guy, right?
Yeah. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. But back to what I was saying is, I'm 46 now, and as I get older, you feel everything more, right? And I've been way more health conscious since I've hit 40. I watch what I put in my body. I watch what I eat. I know when I've eaten the wrong things. My body tells me right away. Right away. Even when I drink alcohol, the second I drink alcohol, I know my body's like, man, come on. You know what I mean? I'll still have a couple of drinks every now and again,
Right.
but like my body now at my age tells me right away when I shouldn't be doing something that I'm doing. But when you're younger, your body's not really telling you that, right? So it's a blessing and a curse at this point. And I'm way more healthy now than I've ever been in my life, probably.
You look great.
Except for
And
when
I'm
I was a
not just
teenager.
saying that to pump you up.
Yeah.
Sitting here 46 years old, I mean,
Yeah. Thanks,
you're in
bro.
good shape, man.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. What does your workurk look like? Like, do you do like weights and stuff?
I do, but I'm more like, I like activities, dude. So
Gotcha.
like surfing.
Yep.
I can't surf right now, obviously, but I'm a big skier. I try to ski 2 days a week. Big swimmer. I was on the swim team in high school. But I do weights. I run.
Yeah.
Jump rope, stuff like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. No,
Yeah.
can continue that. Anything that you want to touch on before we wrap up that maybe I didn't, touch on, that you were like, oh, I really hope to discuss this in,
Man, you've
in
been
the
thorough
interview
as
today?
hell. No, you hit it.
Yeah?
You've been very thorough. I feel like we've done it all. Yeah, man.
Good.
Everything. Yeah. This was amazing.
Yeah. No,
This is an
thank
amazing
you.
experience. So everyone knows this is my first podcast, and this is my guy.
There
Okay.
you go. No, I appreciate the conversation, man.
Yeah.
I took a liking to you the second that we had
Yeah.
an initial call. We had a call before we ever even did an event together or anything
Yeah,
like
no, we
that.
did. We did.
And it was very genuine, and I was curious. You looked at my pitch deck, I looked at your pitch deck, and I liked what the brand was all about, man. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to further the relationship, further the conversation.
Absolutely.
I think this was a step in the right direction, and I think it definitely brought some value to individuals who are on their own entrepreneurial journey. Do you have any mantras that you kind of live by? Always curious about that.
Mantras. Not a mantra that I would like say to myself, really. It's just the biggest thing I try to do, and we all do it, is I try to grab myself and be present as much as possible. Grab yourself. That's the biggest thing for me. Is like you said, I'm a thinker. I am a thinker. Then I lose myself. I go off on my thoughts, and I'm not present sometimes. Like a big thing, like when we were talking about my relationship with my wife, is like I need to listen more. I'm a big thinker. I go off and I lose myself when I need to be more present and listen more. So the biggest thing, not only in business but in life, is just being as present as you possibly can. Grab yourself. You know what I mean? Grab yourself. We all do it. We're like, oh, where was I? Here I am now. Try to be here as much as possible.
Well said. So not only grab yourself,
grab your WAVA.
But also grab yourself a WAVA water. Vin, thank you so much for your time. If you can just lock in with everybody and let them know where they can find you and connect with you and your product.
Yeah. So WAVA Water is in over 50 stores in New York City, Brooklyn, and the Hudson Valley. On our website, wavawater.com, there is a Find Us tab at the top. We'll show every single store that we were in. You could also buy us online, and we send out to you within 2 days. And hope you love your WAVA. Thank you.
Listen, no, this conversation was great, man. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you. Whether you've listened to one or episode 208 with Vincent DeGrezia. I love that. I love that. Guys, definitely check out WAVA Water. This is a product I actually keep in my fridge now. Yeah. And I'm not just saying that. It actually got me through the holidays. You know, my awesome. Girlfriend and I, we love looking forward to just kind of sitting back, having a little mocktail WAVA version. You know what I mean? It's very relaxing. So it's something that I definitely encourage everybody to lock into. And getting to know the man behind the brand is something that I'm even more intrigued by.
Yeah. Also, man, like I love mentoring. I love talking to people. People have questions. You know, you could email me on our website through the info. I'll get back to you right away. And, you know, if anyone needs any entrepreneur or questions or help with startups, love talking to people. Always there for anybody.
Awesome. So, guys, thank you again for tuning in. Share the show. That is exactly how we grow. Wherever you tap in and you listen to us, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube. It really helps our algorithm, and it helps us grow, and it doesn't cost you a thing. So, without further ado, you can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
And get your WAVA water.
Find your focus.
Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.